Okay, you're probably wondering where I am and what in the world I'm doing. And to be honest, I don't know if I really know. But this is something that Andrea wants to do. So where I am right now is, this is one of the corners of our property, approximately. There's an iron rebar around here somewhere, but this is a good estimation of where it is. And if I pan up, if you see through the trees over there, there's the house and the chicken coop. I don't know if it's on the video or not, but Lucien is crowing, so we're not too far away. And then this is normally the south side of our property here. And so in actuality, a little bit of our property actually goes into the adjacent field, which is over here. But, you know, we're honestly never going to do anything with this part because it's about, I would say, 35 by 35 feet. That's not really enough to do anything. So the farmer wants to farm this little bit of it. I really don't care. But what am I doing out here? Why do I have the yard cart? Why does the yard cart have straw in it? Well, the reason the yard cart has straw in it is that we've been strawing the garden, which is on a separate video. And I had a little bit of straw left over, so I just put it in the yard cart and put it in the shed yesterday. And I wanted to bring the post hole digger, which is right there. We have a brick and some sandstone, which I'll get into in a minute. And then I have my good trusty spade right here. And then there's another brick right there. And then I have more sandstone in my pocket. Now, what I'm doing out here, I jokingly call with Andrea. Andrea believes, and I generally call it hippie stuff. And what I mean by hippie stuff is anything that's not like mainstream stuff. So like astrology or feng shui or any type of witchy stuff or metaphysical stuff. Andre is really big into that stuff. I'm TBD on it. I don't believe it necessarily, but I don't not believe it necessarily, if that makes any sense. So what one of Andrea's friends said to do is, one of Andrea's friends is really attuned to psychic type energy and metaphysical energy and all that type of, I'll just call it hippie stuff. And so she said that we have some bad juju pretty much around the property. And the way to get rid of the bad juju is to, in our case, put a brick and sunstone at the corners. So that's why I'm out here doing all of this. So I dug a hole with the post hole digger. I went down just about 3 feet. Reason I wanted to go down that deep is that this is farmed and this is tilled and cultivated all the time. So I wanted to make sure whatever we did was well below any of that, because he might go down like 8 inches, maybe a foot. So I wanted to be well below that, so, you know, none of his equipment would get hurt or anything. And so the theory is you put this on the corner of your property, on all your corners, and it protects you from bad energy. So take that for what you will, but that's what Andrea said. So being a good husband, that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing this one, which is over in this corner, and then I'm going to do that one is, let me try to zoom in. All right, you see that little fence right there? I don't know why the camera is doing that. Okay, that fence represents a guy wire to the tower that's behind us. So when we get over there, I'll explain that. But our property line's fairly close to that. So anyway, without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brick. Now this brick here, our neighbor had an old, what they call a pack house, which is an old farm structure. And given where we are, we're in rural Horry County, South Carolina. We have pine trees central around here. And so any field that is neglected for about a year or two starts growing pine trees on it. And within 5 years, it's you pretty much can't use it as a field anymore. You have to get rid of all the pine trees because the pine trees will be about 10 feet tall by then. And then you have to make it into a field again. And so his property's on the other side of that white house over there. Anyway, I don't know, 50 years ago, 100 years ago or something, they built this building that's called a pack house. And then over time, the building didn't get used. And then the trees, it got overgrown, and then it got full of trees. Then everybody forgot about it. And so you had this building which was slowly rotting in the middle of the woods, which actually happens a lot around here because the pine trees are so fast growing. If you just ignore something for about 10 to 15 years, it's overgrown with pine trees and you never knew anything was ever there. And so he was doing some renovations on his property, found this old building, demolished the building. Well, evidently the foundation of the building was built with brick. So he joked around before that if we needed any brick, we could go over and search his rubble. So that's what we did the other day. So this is one of the bricks from that old pack house building. So this thing's could be 100 years old. It could be a little less, could be a little more. And it also has some mortar on it. And the reason Andrea said to use this is that our profession is architecture, which is construction. So having something as related to our field would help, quote, anchor the property. So that's her words, not mine. So I'm going to drop it in here. So it's down in the bottom. Then hold on. Then this is sunstone right here. Hopefully it's focusing properly. I asked Andrea, I said, why sunstone? Why not something else? And she said the sunstone, quote, called to her. So take that for what it's worth. So we're going to take the sunstone here and I'm going to drop it in there too. And so now we got the sunstone and the brick. And so then now I'm going to take my trusty spade here. I'm going to cover the hole back up. And so then now this corner of the property is going to be protected from the bad juju. Bad juju is a technical term. So then I'm going to finish that up and then I'm going to go over to that corner and we're going to do the same thing. Okay, and here's the hole, or what was formerly the hole. I just covered it up, packed it down with my feet, covered it up again, and there she blows. So this will be hopefully good from here on out. Just as a side note, this field has not been cultivated yet. Our field has been cultivated, but this was peanuts last year. Or I think it was peanuts last year. Everything around us pretty much was peanuts, so I think this field was peanuts. So I don't know why they didn't cultivate this yet, because if you look at the field on the other side of the ditch over there, that has been cultivated. So that's just a side note. So, all right, on to the next one. Okay, now we're on the other side of the property. And so there's the guy wire, the foundation with the tower right there. That is a 911 tower. So the county owns all of this property where the trees are, plus obviously the grass area in between. So here's my little hole right here, which is the approximate property line. Because if you look here, you can see where I have those other 2 stakes, and this is pretty much in line with that. So that's pretty much where it is. Then you have our house, the chicken coop and the greenhouse and all that type of good stuff. And then here's the 5-acre field that is our property that the farmer farms. And so I just wanted to give you a little perspective. You might be able to see it better now. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. All right, I try not to talk when I'm zoomed in because it gets really loud for some reason. So, but that was an old like shed building. It's sort of similar like the pack house, but that one is our neighbor has bees in it that he keeps, and so those are the bees that pollinate all the stuff in the area, including our crops. And so the bees in the summertime go in overdrive. And so there's our only other neighbor that we can see. So we have that neighbor and we have that neighbor. Those are the only 2 neighbors we can see from our property, except for that corner. There's a rural highway on the other side, and there's a bunch of houses on the highway, but we can't see those from our house. And then that's our neighbor's shop. But other than that, that's all we can see. Now on the other side of the trees over there, there's a road, and there's a house that's over there that just got put in, I don't know, last 6 months or so. And then there's 2 lots that are for sale right next to it that will have houses on it shortly. But anyway, that's off topic. So anyway, we're going to do the same thing to this. We have our nice brick from our pack house with some nice mortar on it. So, you know, this might be 100-year-old brick. Depends on how old that was. And we just drop it in there like so. And I have the 2 sunstones here. And those get dropped in. And like so. Then all I have to do is fill it back up. Now, this area right here where I'm standing is about the highest grade of anywhere in this area. Now, when I mean in this area, not only in my immediate vicinity, probably within a few mile radius. And so this dirt is probably sand to the extreme. So when I dug this post hole, it was significantly easier to dig than that post hole over there. That post hole, I'm assuming is some type of loamy dirt because it was extremely hard to get through. Not as hard as clay, but a lot harder than this one. So you can see all the dirt right there. It's just sand all the way down. And it's the same thing with the dirt over in our area. Because when they dug my mother-in-law's septic tank, which the septic tank had to go about 5 feet in the ground, the bottom of it, it was just sand all the way down. It was different kinds of sand, but it was still sand. It wasn't loamy or clay or anything. So, all right, I'm going to fill her up, and then we'll come back. Okay, so this one's covered up. And so I got 2 down and 2 to go. And so we're going to do the same thing to the other 2. Unless something weird happens, I'm not going to video that. Because one of the property lines is pretty much about where that telephone pole is. And then the other one is near the street on the other side of the trees over there. So anyway, that's doing this. Now, I was trying to press Andrea last night because Andrea loves giving me specifics and generalities at the same time. Meaning a specific would be, it has to be a brick and it has to be a sunstone. I'm the type of person, I was born in Missouri, so I'm the show me type person. So I'm like, why? Why does it have to be brick? Why does it have to be some sunstone? So she hemmed and hawed for a while, and she finally said that it's not an absolute that these have to be brick and sunstone. The sunstone, quote, called to her, and the brick is because of our profession. So if you want to be inclined to do something like this on your property, then you can potentially use other things, or you could use the same thing. I think it's the intention that matters, so to speak. So the other thing I asked is that we have a nice, mostly rectangle property, which means we have 4 corners and that's it. And I said, well, what happens if you have a property and it's like up against like a stream or a river or something, and it jig-jogs all over the place? Because that's the way the property lines were delineated. And she said, you do the best you can, and in that type of situation, or if you have a situation where part of your property line is in the water, then you go to like the edge of the bank or something. So you're not having to like get scuba gear and go out into the water and try to find the property edge. You just do the best you can. And she said the same thing for if you have like a jig-jog property line where it's not like clear cut like ours. So there's one other thing I wanted to show you. So I'll wait till we get there. All right, so now we're back in familiar area. There's the corner where I did the first one. There's the corner where I did the second one. But what I wanted to show you is our collection of blueberries we got here. This is one of the blueberries that our neighbor was able to get at like a discount from North Carolina. And for a small fee, they actually delivered it to within like 10 miles of here. So we paid half of the shipping costs and he paid half of the shipping costs. And then we got a ton of blueberries and he got a ton of blueberries. So we got 7 of them. And as you can tell, the blueberries are going good. They're flowering. And they're all looking nice and pretty. So these are all the ones here. All the really big ones are the ones we bought. And then these small ones here, we got these at Tractor Supply last year. And so they're growing, but they're obviously not nearly as big. Now at the time, these were like 15 bucks and these were 20 bucks. And I looked at Tractor Supply, and blueberries about, I'd say half the size of this one right here was $13. And so $20 for a blueberry that's that size is really nice. And so what we're going to do is, we have a friend of ours that he cuts trees down for a living and does like managing brush and stuff like that. He's the one that actually did the brush and cut the trees down for us last year and the year before respectively. And so they said with blueberries, in order to keep the pH low in the soil, because blueberries love low pH, they love acidic soil, that you take pine bark and pine mulch, not needles, but just the bark in the tree itself, and you use that as mulch around the blueberries. And because pine is very acidic in nature. So the other thing I wanted to show you is, this is our newest acquisition, our fig trees. And so we got 2 small fig trees here. I want to say these were $15 a piece. And this big one here, which is almost as tall as I am, was $50. And again, this was our same neighbor. He found someone that was selling fig trees. He also got some pomegranate trees, which we really didn't want those. but he went and got them, and we got these Sunday. That was the same day that we got the bricks. And so just wanted to show that. Now, fig tree is not like blueberry. Fig tree likes higher pH. So we're going to put that out closer to the road. We did a soils test over here on the other side of the driveway last year. And the soils test in that area had a 6.5 pH. And so, assuming by looking at the same grass and everything, it would be a similar soils test over there near the road. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to put it in between the driveway and the road and the telephone pole. So we just have to obviously have time to do that. And unfortunately, I don't have the backhoe hooked up on the tractor in order to dig the holes, because that's how we did it for the blueberries. Because Andre wanted to dig holes that way. And I'm not spending 2 hours to put that backhoe on and off to have it spend 2 minutes to dig the holes. So that doesn't seem like a good use of my time. So anyway, that's off topic for what I'm doing. But later today, I'm going to do probably that corner, which is on the other side of the trees over there. And then Andrea has to get another sunstone in order to do this one over here. So that one will be last, because that's the easiest one to get to. And if you look, you see the nice purple flowers. Whoa. There we go. All right, my hand is shaking for some reason. That is wisteria. Wisteria is actually a vine, and it's really annoying, but it has really pretty flowers this time of year. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to see what the sisters are complaining about, because, you know, they're chickens, so they always like to complain about something. So anyway, I'm done. 2 sides down, 2 sides to go. So like I said, unless something weird happens, I'm not going to videotape those. So on to whatever Andre's going to have me do next.